Chapter 12, wherein it is set forth how the angel Mirar, when bearing grace and consolation to those dwelling in the neighborhood of Champs, Elysées, and Paris, beheld a musical hall singer named Bouchotte and fell in love with her. Through streets filled with brown fog, pierced with white and yellow lights, where horses exhaled their smoking breath and motors radiated their rapid searchlights, the angel made his way, and mingling with the black flood of foot passengers which rolled unceasingly along, proceeded across the town from north to south till he came to the lonely boulevards on the left bank of the river. Not far from the old walls of Port Royal, a small restaurant flings night by night athwart the pavement the clouded rays of its streaming windows. Coming to a halt there, Arcade entered a room full of warm, savory odors, pleasing to the unfortunate beings faint with cold and hunger. Glancing round him, he beheld Russian nihilists, Italian anarchists, refugees, conspirators, revolutionaries from every quarter of the globe, picturesque of old faces with tumbled masses of hair and beard that swept downwards, even as the torrent and the waterfall swept over their rocky bed. There were young faces of virginal coldness, expressions somber and wild, pale eyes of infinite sweetness, drawn faces, and in a corner there were two Russian women, one extremely lovely, the other hideous, but both resembling each other in their indifference to ugliness and to beauty. But failing to find the face he sought, for there were no angels in the room, he sat down at a smaller, vacant marble table. Angels, when driven by hunger, eat as do the animals of this earth, and their food, transformed by digestive heat, becomes one with their celestial substance. Seeing three angels under the oaks of Mamre, Abraham offered them cakes kneaded by Sarah, and whole calf, butter and milk, and they ate. Lot, on receiving two angels in his house, ordered unleavened bread to be baked, and they did eat. Arcade was given a tough beef steak by a seedy waiter, and he did eat. Nevertheless, his dreams were of the sweet leisure, of the repose, of the delightful studies he had quitted, of that heavy task he had undertaken, of the toil, the weariness, the perils which he would have to endure. And his soul was sad, and his heart troubled. As he was finishing his modest repast, a young man of poor appearance and thinly clad entered the room, and rapidly surveying the tables, approached the angel and greeted him by the name of Abdiel, because he himself was a celestial spirit. I knew you would answer my call, Mirar, replied Arcade, addressing his angelic brother in his turn by the name he formerly bore in heaven. But Mirar was remembered no more in heaven, since he, an archangel, had left the service of God. He was called Théophile Phalaes on earth, and to earn his bread gave music lessons to small children in the daytime, and at night played the violin in dancing saloons. It is you, dear Abdiel, replied Théophile. So Here we are reunited in this sad world. I'm pleased to see you again. All the same, I pity you, for we lead a hard life here. But Arcade answered, Friend, your exile draws to an end. I have great plans. I will confide them to you and associate you with them. And Maurice's guardian angel, having ordered 2 coffees, revealed his ideas and his projects to his companion. He told how, during his visit on Earth, he had abandoned himself to researches, little practiced by celestial spirits, and had studied theologies, cosmogonies, the system of the universe, theories of matter, modern essays on the transformation and loss of energy, having, he explained, studied nature. He found her in perpetual conflict with the teachings of the master he served. This master, greedy of praise, whom he had for a long time adored, appeared to him now as an ignorant, stupid, and cruel tyrant. He had denied him, blasphemed him, and was burning to combat him. His plan was to recommence the revolt of the angels. He wished for war and hoped for victory. But, he added, it is necessary above all to know our strength and that of our adversary. And he asked if the enemies of Yaldabaoth were numerous and powerful on earth. Théophile looked wonderingly at his brother. He appeared not to understand the questions addressed him. Dear compatriot, he said, I came at your invitation, because it was the invitation of an old comrade, but I do not know what you expect of me, and I fear I shall be unable to help you in anything. I take no hand in politics, neither do I stand forth as a reformer. I am not like you, a spirit in revolt, a freethinker, a revolutionary. I remain faithful in the depths of my soul to the celestial creator. I still adore the master I no longer serve, and lament the days when, shrouding myself with my wings, I formed, with the multitude of the children of light, a wheel of flame around his throne of glory. Love for feigned love has alone separated me from God. I quitted heaven to follow a daughter of men. She was beautiful and sang in music halls. They arose. Arcade accompanied Théophile, who was living at the other end of the town, at the corner of the boulevard Bouchotte and the Rue de Steinkerk. Walking through the deserted streets, he who loved the singer told his brother of his love and his sorrows. His fall, which dated from 2 years back, had been sudden. Belonging to the 8th choir of the 3rd hierarchy, he was a bearer of grace to the faithful, who are still to be found in large numbers in France, especially among the higher ranks of the officers of the army and navy. One summer night, he said, I was descending from heaven to distribute consolations, the grace of perseverance, and of good deaths to diverse pious persons in the neighborhood of the Anatole. My eyes, although well accustomed to immortal light, were dazzled by the fiery flowers with which the chumps Elysées were sown. Great candelabra under the trees, marking the entrances to cafes and restaurants, gave the foliage the precious glitter of an emerald. Long garlands of luminous pearl surrounded the open-air enclosures where a crowd of men and women sat closely packed, listening to the sounds of a lively orchestra whose strains reached my ears confusedly. The night was warm, my wings were beginning to grow tired. I descended into one of the concerts and sat down, invisible among the audience. At this moment, a woman appeared on the stage, clad in a short, spangled frock. Owing to the reflections of the footlights and the paint on her face, all that was visible of the latter was the expression and the smile. Her body was supple and voluptuous. She sang and danced. Arcade, I have always loved dancing music, but this creature's thrilling voice and assiduous movements created in me an uneasiness I had never known before. My color came and went, my eyelids drooped, my tongue clove, my mouth. I could not leave the spot, and Théophile related, groaning how possessed by desire for this woman, he did not return to heaven again, but taking the shape of a man lived an earthly life, for it is written, in those days the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful. A fallen angel, having lost his innocence along with the visions of God, Théophile at heart still retained his simplicity of soul. Clad in rags, filched from the stall of a Jewish hawker, he went to seek the woman he loved. She was called Bouchotte and lodged in a small house in Montmartre. He flung himself at her feet and told her she was adorable, and she sang delightfully, that he loved her madly, for her he would renounce his family and his country, that he was a musician and had nothing to eat. Touched by such youthful ingenuousness, candor, poverty, and love, he fed, clothed, and loved him. However, after long and painful struggles, he procured employment as a music teacher and made some money, which he brought to his mistress, keeping nothing for himself. From that time forward, she loved him no longer. She despised him for earning so little, and did not conceal her indifference, weariness, and disgust. She overwhelmed him with reproaches, irony, and abuse, in spite of which she kept him, for she had experience of worse partners, and was used to domestic quarrels. For the rest, she led a busy, serious, and rather hard life as an artist and woman. Théophile loved her as he had loved her the first night, and he suffered. She overworks herself. He told his celestial brother, that is what makes her so hard to please, but I am certain she loves me. I hope soon to give her more comfort. And he spoke at length of an operetta at which he was working and which he hoped to have brought out at a Paris theatre. A young poet had given him the libretto. It was the story of Aline, queen of Golconda, after an 18th century tale. I'm strewing it profusely with melodies, said Théophile. My music comes from my heart. My heart is an inexhaustible source of melody. Unfortunately, nowadays people like recondite arrangements, difficult scoring. They accuse me of being too fluid, too limpid, of not imparting enough color to my style, not aiming at stronger effects in harmony and more vigorous contrasts. Harmony, no doubt it has given its merits, but it does not appeal to the heart. It is melody which carries us away and ravishes us and brings smiles and tears to our eyes. At these words, he smiled and wept to himself. Then he continued with emotion, I am a fountain of melody, but the orchestration, there's the rub. In paradise, you know, Arcade, in the matter of instruments, we only possess the harp, the psaltery, and the hydraulic organ. Arcade was only listening to him with half an ear. He was meditating plans which filled his soul and swelled his heart. Do you know any angels in revolt? He asked his companion. As for me, I know only one, Prince Istar, with whom I have exchanged a few letters, and who offered to share his attic with me, while I was finding a lodging in this town, where I believe rents are very high. Of angels in revolt, Théophile knew none. When he met a fallen spirit who had formerly been one of his comrades, he shook him by the hand, for he was a faithful friend. Sometimes he saw Prince Istar, but he avoided all those bad angels who shocked him by the violence of their opinions, and whose conversations plagued him to death. Then why do you approve of me? Asked the impulsive arcade. Friend, I neither approve of you nor blame you. I understand nothing of the ideas which trouble you. Neither do I think it good for an artist to concern himself with politics. One has quite sufficient to occupy oneself with one's art. He loved his profession and had hopes of arriving one day, but theatrical ways disgusted him. The only chance he saw of having his piece played was to take one or two, perhaps three, collaborators, who, without having done any work, would sign their names and share the profits. Soon, Bouchotte would fail to find engagements. When she offered her services in some hall, the manager began by asking her how many shares she was taking in the business. Such customs, thought Théophile, were deplorable. And I'm reminded of the fact that the King James Version of the Bible, when that came about, they did not want the word tyrant in it. So it was unique in that respect. And we're also reminded how in most mythologies, God didn't create demons. Demons chose to be that way. Demons sometimes are amoral, as in they don't even care whether it's immoral in that sense.